Good morning dear students, welcome back to the second session of the poem If I Was a Tree written by Murnakodu Chinnaswamy. This poem presents a satirical account of the cruel and inhuman practices of caste discrimination practiced in Indian society. Here, the speaker speaks in the persona of an untouchable and presents some instances of untouchability that he is subjected to. The poet uses a tree as a metaphor for representing nature and highlights how natural elements like the cool breeze, the sunlight and the raindrops would have treated an untouchable if he was a tree when they come into contact with him. So in the first stanza of the poem, the poet says that if he was a tree, the bird would have built its nest without thinking him as an untouchable or without asking him about his caste. That means here the poet he tries to show the reality of the society, saying that Dalits were always questioned about their caste, and whenever they revealed their caste and whenever they said they belong to lower community or untouchable community, they were humiliated and physically assaulted by upper caste people. So that's why here the poet says that if he was a tree, the nature would have accepted him when the society rejected to accept him. And he also says that if he was a tree, when sunlight embraced that tree, the shadow of the tree wouldn't feel defiled. That means here untouchables were considered as polluted or defiled people, and upper caste people, they always thought that a small touch of an untouchable will also make them pollute. So that's why every time they maintain a distance from untouchables. So that's why the poet says that if he was a tree, at least his life would be better. And he also says that my friendship with the cool breeze and the leaves would be better. So that means here if he was a tree, at least he would have made friendship with cool breeze and the leaves of the tree, which shows the untouchables were not accepted by the society. They have no rights to make a relationship, or they don't have any rights to build a relationship with non-Dalits. So that's why here the poet he says that it is better to be a tree rather than being an untouchable in Indian society. So in the previous class we have stopped here. Now let us continue the poem. Raindrops wouldn't turn back, taking me for a dog eater. So here again the poet says that if he had been a tree, the raindrops would not turn its back, taking or considering him as an untouchable. That means here the raindrops would fall on it without discriminating him or without taking him as an untouchable or dog eater. So here it means the raindrops would fall on the tree without discrimination, and it also provides the water to the tree without discriminating or taking him as a dog eater. So here the phrase dog eaters refers to untouchables. The poet says that if he had been a tree, raindrops wouldn't turn its back. That means here it shows that untouchables were not allowed to fetch water from the well. That means here Dalits were not supposed to use well which was used by non-Dalits and upper caste people. So if they want water, they have to wait until a considerate person or an upper caste person comes and fetch water for them. That's why here the poet says that at least if he had been a tree, at least he would have enjoyed the basic facilities which were denied by upper caste people to Dalits. And here the poet he uses a phrase dog eater. I have already told you that dog eater refers to untouchables, and here the poet used this phrase because here he says that In olden days, Dalits were considered as underprivileged people and they don't get enough food to feed their family. So that's why what happened, instead of providing food to Dalit or instead of giving or offering food, upper caste people, they used to throw food at them. And not only that, some of the Dalit people, they were used to pick food from the dustbin. So that's why here the writer or the poet, he says that Dalits are like a dog eater. That means here he tries to show the reality of the society and he says that they don't have any consideration and they were treated very badly. They were treated like dogs. So that's why here he used this phrase, dog eater. When I branch out further from my roots, Mother Earth wouldn't flee shouting for a bath. In the world of nature, there is no discrimination. Differentiation in the name of caste is done only in the society of human beings. That's why here the poet says that if he had been a tree, Mother Earth would not have run to take bath because his roots were touching hers. Instead, Mother Earth would give strength to the tree to get stronger and stronger with its roots being spread wider and wider. Through these lines, the poet states the attitude of the upper caste people towards the Dalit. So here, as I have already mentioned in the previous class, Dalit people were not allowed to enter the village without the permission of the upper caste people because they considered that a small touch of a Dalit or even a shadow of a Dalit will make them polluted or defiled. So by accident, if upper caste person touches Dalit, then he immediately run away to take bath. So here a small touch is considered as pollution and taking bath considered as purification. So the poet indirectly questions, how can someone be purified by a bath if their inner selves are polluted with the idea of discriminating individuals? That's how here the poet says that Mother Earth wouldn't flee shouting for a bath. So here poet shows the discrimination in the name of caste is prevalent only in human society and not in nature. The sacred cow would scrape her body on my bark, scratching wherever it itched, and the 300,000 gods sheltering inside her would touch me. So here the poet states that if he had been a tree, he would allow the cows to scratch its body against the surface of the tree, that means bark of the tree. In return, he would have got blessing from the 1,000 gods and goddesses who are sheltered inside the cow. So here through these lines the speaker tries to show that Dalits were not allowed to enter the Hindu temples. That means here upper caste people prohibited the entry of Dalits to temples. Dalits or untouchables, they were not supposed to enter the temple and not touch the sacred things which belong to the temple. So that's why here the poet says that if he had been a tree, at least he would have got the blessing from the 300,000 gods who are sheltered inside the cow's stomach. And here it could even be an ironical reference to the higher caste people who worship cows as divine but fail to see the divinity in their fellow human beings. And it could also be a mockery of the upper caste people who worship thousands of gods but have no respect for their fellow human beings. Who knows, at the end, hacked into pieces of dry wood, burning in the holy fire, I might be made pure or becoming the buyer for a sinless body, be born on the shoulders of 4 good men. So here in the last stanza, the poet shows his desire to be purified in some way or the other. And he also states his wish saying that if he had been a tree, at least he would have been hacked into pieces, he would have been broken into pieces and would have been used for some holy rituals, or he would have been used as a bier which was used to carry the dead bodies by touching the shoulders of four good men. Bier, which means a wooden frame which used to carry the dead bodies. In Kannada, we say it as chatta. And here the poet calls four men as good because only those people are allowed to carry the dead bodies of all the caste. And here it is clear that as a human being he knows that he would be ignored even after the death and wouldn't have allowed a decent burial. Thus, as a human being, in life and death he would be condemned. But as a tree, he would live a life of dignity and joy. Thus, the speaker through this poem makes it clear that instead of being born as a human being or instead of being born as an untouchable, in a society which practices discrimination, it is better to be born as a tree or any other creature in the nature, as in nature there is no discrimination. So here in the last stanza he says that if he had been a tree, at least he would have been hacked into pieces and those pieces would have been used for holy rituals, or else would have been used as a bier for carrying dead bodies by touching the shoulders of four good men. Through all these manner he would have been purified himself. That means here the poet is very sure that after the death also he wouldn't get that respect. That means untouchables, they don't have any consideration after their death also. That means people, they won't perform any kind of rituals for the dead body of the Dalit. Here poet is very sure that he won't get any kind of purification after the death also. That's why he shows his desire to be a tree, and he says that if he had been a tree, at least he would have been purified in some or the other ways. So in this poem, the poet, he tries to describe about the untouchability. He tries to show the plight of untouchables through the poem If I Was a Tree. And here in this poem, the poet shows his desire to be a tree so that he would have enjoyed the life of a tree instead of being a human being. Because in Indian society, being an untouchable is considered as a sin, and they don't have any kind of respect or any kind of consideration. And here he also gave one important message saying that nature doesn't discriminate. Only we human beings discriminate based on the caste, creed, classes, race, gender, etc. Through this poem, the poet, he tries to convey the message saying that it is better to be a tree or it is better to be any creature in the nature instead of being a human being in the society where it follows the discrimination or where it practices the discrimination. And here he is also speaking on behalf of the untouchables. He is not only describing about his own experience as an untouchable, but he also speaks on behalf of the community and on behalf of the Dalits. In this poem, he tries to convey the message saying that we have to learn something from the nature because nature is considered as our best teacher. So we have to learn something from the nature, then only we can lead a meaningful life. So dear students, now I am going to read the poem. Listen carefully. If I Was a Tree by Mudnakudu Chinnaswamy. If I was a tree, the bird wouldn't ask me before it built its nest what caste I am. When sunlight embraced me, my shadow wouldn't feel defiled. My friendship with the cool breeze and the leaves would be sweet. Raindrops wouldn't turn back, taking me for a dog eater. When I branch out further from my roots, Mother Earth wouldn't flee, shouting for a bath. The sacred cow would scrape her body on my bark, scratching wherever it itched, and 300,000 gods sheltering inside her would touch me. Who knows, at the end, hacked into pieces of dry wood burning in the holy fire, I might be made pure, or becoming the buyer for a sinless body, be born on the shoulders of 4 good men. So, I hope you have understood the poem. If you have any doubts or clarification, you can contact us via WhatsApp. So now please take down the important questions. Analyze the concepts of defilement and purification. Analyze the concept of defilement and purification as illustrated in If I Was a Tree. So next question. How is the problem of untouchability? How is the problem of untouchability brought out in the poem If I Was a Tree? How is the problem of untouchability brought out in the poem If I Was a Tree? So now take down the 1 mark questions. First one, what does the speaker want to be? What does the speaker want to be in the poem If I Was a Tree? Next question, when does the poet feel that? When does the poet feel that his shadow wouldn't be defiled? When does the poet feel that his shadow wouldn't be defiled? Next question, how many gods take shelter inside the cow? How many gods take shelter inside the cow according to the speaker in If I Was a Tree? Next question, what does the phrase dog eater refers to? Last question, how does the speaker want to be purified? How does the speaker want to be purified in the poem If I Was a Tree? Thank you.